You were kind. You showed up. You gave your time, your energy, maybe even pieces of yourself that you didn't even have to give. And somehow, that became the thing they used against you. That's not a small wound. That is one of the deepest cuts a person can feel, because it doesn't just hurt you, it makes you question everything. It makes you wonder if being kind was the mistake. But here's what I need you to understand before we go any further. The problem was never your kindness. The problem was who you placed it in front of. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, a journal he never intended for anyone to read, these words: "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." He wasn't writing that for applause. He wasn't performing for anyone. He was writing it as a reminder to himself. A man who ruled the most powerful empire on earth still had to remind himself every single day that his character was worth protecting. That tells you something. Even the greatest among us had to deal with people who tested them, who took from them, who mistook their patience for weakness. So, if you're sitting here right now feeling foolish for being kind to someone who didn't deserve it, you are in very good company. Better company than you think. Now, let's talk about what is actually happening when someone uses your kindness against you. Because most people misread this situation entirely. They think the person who hurt them is powerful. They think they've been outsmarted, made a fool of, played. But the Stoics would look at this completely differently. Epictetus was born into slavery. He had no freedom, no rights, no control over his own body. And he said that no one can truly harm you without your consent, not in the way that actually matters. They can disappoint you, they can take from you, they can abuse your generosity, but they cannot touch your character unless you hand it to them. The person who used your kindness didn't beat you, they revealed themselves. You didn't lose, you got information. Painful, expensive information, but information. There is a type of person that the Stoics described as someone driven purely by appetite, by desire, by what they can get. Today we might call them manipulators, takers, energy vampires. Whatever name you use, the behavior looks identical. They sense warmth and they move toward it, not to appreciate it, to consume it. They don't see your kindness as a gift, they see it as a resource. And as long as you keep offering it without limits, they will keep taking without guilt. This is not pessimism, this is clarity. And clarity is what Stoicism is built on. So what do you actually do? The first thing, and this is the hardest one, you stop trying to change them. I know you've had the conversation in your head 1,000 times, the one, where you explain exactly how they hurt you and they finally get it. They finally see it, and something changes. That conversation almost never happens in real life, and every single time you replay it in your head, you are spending your energy on someone who has already shown you who they are. Seneca wrote, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you, not people you are hoping to improve, not people you are waiting on to change, people who are already moving in a direction worth following." That one line, if you actually live it, will completely transform the landscape of your life within a year. The second thing is understanding the difference between being kind and being available without limit. Kindness is a virtue. The Stoics believed this completely. But boundaryless availability is not kindness. It is anxiety dressed up as generosity. And deep down, you already know the difference. You felt it. That moment where you said, yes, but every single cell in your body was screaming no. That is not kindness. That is fear. Fear of conflict. Fear of being seen as selfish. Fear of losing someone whose approval you've convinced yourself you need. Real kindness, stoic kindness, comes from strength, not from depletion. You give because it aligns with your values, not because you're terrified of what happens if you don't. The moment you start giving out of fear, you have handed that person the controls to your life. Here's something that nobody talks about. When you finally draw a line with someone who has been using you, they will react. Sometimes with shock, sometimes with anger, sometimes with guilt-tripping so sophisticated it almost impresses you. And in that moment, your brain will try to convince you that you have done something wrong, that you're being cruel, that the old version of you, the giving, accommodating, shrinking version, was somehow better. Don't believe it, because what you are witnessing in that moment is not proof that you're wrong. It is proof that the boundary is working. People who genuinely care about you will adjust. People who were only there for what you provided, they will leave. And that exit, as painful as it feels in the moment, is one of the greatest gifts life will ever hand you. Marcus Aurelius had a practice when someone in his court was dishonest, manipulative, disloyal. He didn't spiral into rage or self-pity. He asked himself one question. What is the highest response here? Not the emotional one, not the revenge fantasy. The response that he could look back on with respect for himself. He called it acting in accordance with his nature, meaning his highest self. Regardless of what the other person deserved. This is the move. This is the thing that separates the people who grow from this experience from the people who become bitter because of it. Because bitterness is the other trap waiting for you here. It is so easy, almost natural, to let what happened close you off completely. To decide that kindness is weakness, that trust is stupidity, that the only way to survive in this world is behind walls. Some people spend their entire lives that way, and from the outside it can look like strength. But it isn't. It is just a different kind of prison. The goal is not to become hard. The goal is to become discerning. There is a world of difference between those two things. A hard person has shut the door entirely. A discerning person has simply learned to look through the window before they open it. They still feel, they still connect, they still give, but they watch patterns. They listen to actions more than words. They understand that trust is not something you hand to someone all at once. It is something you extend slowly, carefully, based on evidence over time. Epictetus called this the discipline of assent. Choosing deliberately what you accept, what you believe, what you allow to take root inside you. Apply that same discipline to people, not with cynicism, but with wisdom. And finally, forgive them. Not for them, not because they earned it, Forgive them because carrying that weight is something you are doing to yourself, not to them. They have moved on. They are not lying awake at night thinking about what they did to you. The resentment lives in your body, in your sleep, in your chest when something reminds you of them. Releasing it is not weakness. It is the most strategic, most stoic thing you can possibly do. Forgiveness does not mean the door is open again. It does not mean what they did was acceptable. It means you have decided that your peace matters more than your grudge. And that is a decision that only a truly strong person can make. So here is where you are right now. Someone used your kindness. That happened. It hurt. And now you have a choice. The same choice that every single person who has ever been in your position has had to face. You can let it make you smaller, or you can let it make you sharper. Not colder, but sharper. Keep the kindness. Protect it like the rare and valuable thing it is. Just stop placing it at the feet of people who have already shown you through their actions, not their words, exactly what they plan to do with it. Your kindness is not a flaw. It never was.